No redirect from me. Mr. Prophy, if we could mark for purposes of the record the district's PowerPoint presentation as School District 5. We don't have a copy of it to distribute tonight, but I can certainly make sure you and Mr. Linehouse are provided with a copy after this hearing.
Thank you. Yes, it will be marked as SD5. At this point in time, does the administration have any further witnesses?
No, Mr. Prophy.
Mr. Prophy, if I might make one, the school district's administrative report contains analysis and certain statements from individuals who are not available to be cross-examined this evening. I would just raise the objection with regard to the hearsay content of that document for purposes of the record.
May I respond to that, please?
Yes, please.
The formal rules of evidence do not apply to this proceeding, so the hearsay objection that Mr. Linehauser is making is not something that would normally be applicable to this. Certainly, I believe the administration has testified at length tonight regarding the findings of the report and the findings of the application. The application is part of the record. The board will be able to review the application itself to determine if the various statements made by folks in the administrative report are supported by the record as a whole. So that there is an opportunity for any statements that are in that report to be corroborated through the actual document itself.
Council's objection is noted for the record. As I stated earlier, I will be asking at the conclusion of the hearing for a concluding document to be submitted by both council with proposed findings of facts and conclusions of law. So the objection is noted for the record.
Thank you.
Any other procedural issues before we go to public comment? Hearing none. Brittany Hood. Where's the microphone?
Good evening. I'm Brittany Hood, and I'm a senior here at Bensalem High School. I've been a professional figure skater since I was age 4, and I would like to make a statement about the figure skating program and why I think it is to be not successful, particularly in this charter school. To have a figure skating program, the club must be sanctioned by United States Figure Skating
If I
Association.
may interrupt for a minute, are you able to transcribe this?
Okay. To have a figure skating program, a club must be sanctioned by the United States Figure Skating Association.
If you could please slow down.
If a club,
Are you reading for something? Because if you are, you can give it to the stenographer. Is that what you're asking, Ms. Stenographer? Are you reading?
yeah.
Okay. Would that be okay, Mr. Prophy?
Yes, that we could accept the written statement. You would state and read everything in that statement had I afforded you the opportunity, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If a club is not sanctioned, then the club cannot compete. The skaters cannot go and compete competitively through United States Figure Skating Association. A huge part of figure skating is competing, and if a skater is not trained to compete, then they are not adequately being prepared to be a figure skater. To be adequately trained, they must also have professionally skating association approved coaches. And if these coaches are not approved by the PSA, the Professional Skating Association, then these coaches are not qualified to be training professional figure skaters. And then therefore, the skaters would not be getting the training that is necessary for them to be competitive and successful. And I want to know whether or not this charter school, whether or not they will have a club, if they will have the required trainers, because we'll have a established club.
Is, you, 1 second. Is there a different microphone?
We're having some issues with the microphone, hearing our students speak. Is there another microphone to be used?
I also was wondering whether or not they would have the required trainers. When someone is being professionally trained to be a figure skater, they do not have one coach. I myself have been training since I was 4 years old, and I do not have one singular coach. I have a coach specified for moves in the field, which is training for a skater to have edge quality. I have a coach that for my jumps and my spins. I have a coach for choreographing programs, and I have a coach for off-ice training. There are many coaches required for a figure skater to be successful, and if that's not able, I don't see how this program could be successful. I also see that if there are, speaking as an experienced figure skater, knowing other girls in my club who attend public schools, most figure skaters who are in high school and already are on their way to being, already training, are already a part of an established club in a rink. So if they are already part of an established club, they would not be interested in going to a charter school and leaving that club and leaving the coaches they already have. I also like to comment that there is more cost factors that is not being considered. It also needs to be considered about the skate sharpening, because figure skaters about every 2 or 3 weeks need to have their skates resharpened. And if their skates are not sharpened or at the point where it is necessary for the figure skater to be performing at top quality, they can get hurt. When the blades aren't dulled, they are not into the ice, and that can result in the figure skater slipping and falling and possibly getting injured. And I speak from experience. If the blades are not sharpened, then the figure skater cannot perform at top quality. And if that's not something that's being factored, then that can result into injuries in many skaters. Other costs include what they're wearing when they're training, dresses for when they compete and they can perform. And that's not just for women, that's also for men, because men also have specific costumes and training wear. There's also training equipment. There are many things, there is so much that goes into figure skating cost-wise that is not being considered. Figure skating is not an inexpensive sport. It is very expensive. And there's so many costs here that is not being considered in this program. Local clubs will be hurt by this charter school with this program. There are many clubs in this area who already struggle to get ice time. My own figure skating club has been established for over 60 years, and by having a charter school in this area, suggesting that they want figure skaters to come in, it will hurt already established programs that have been established for a very significant amount of time. Also, if any figure skater is considering going professional, they are not starting in high school. They have been skating for years and years and years. It is not something you can just pick up in high school. This is something that you have to start in your childhood. I myself, like I said, have been skating since I was 4 years old. And I have trained years and years for days and weeks and many hours. And that's just not something you can pick up and expect to be successful in it for a long period of time. And I myself just would like to put out there that I wouldn't go to this charter school, because not only is this figure skating program being established lacking in many considerations, but it's also lacking in things that make a student well-rounded. I myself am in PJS, which is the science program here at Bensalem High School. PJAS, Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science. It is the science program here offered at Bensalem. I am also in the National Honor Society here at Bensalem. I am also in many honors and AP classes. I am a member of Femines Vocalis, the select-only women's choir, concert choir and women's choir, Do you need me to slow down? Concert choir and women's choir, which are the choirs offered as a class. I am also involved in the drama club here. And on top of all that, I skate. There are so many factors from this school that make me a well-rounded student, and those factors are not being offered at this charter school. Factors like that affect whether or not students are willing to go. If I am being offered by colleges, I will not be looked at if I'm not a well-rounded student. And while I know how important the arts are here in Bensalem and all over the world, it's not going to matter if the academics are not there. And being a figure skater, that has been one of the most important things in my life. And I myself would not go to this charter school just because of this figure skating program. And the opportunities I have had here at Bensalem are more meaningful than anything that could be offered at a charter school. And while I really think it's a great opportunity that they could be having, I do not think that it can be carried out. There are too many factors that are not being considered here. And I know that there's a lot to be considered because this is not something to be taken lightly. Figure skating is a very intensive sport. It's something that I get hurt every single practice I go to. If the right training is not provided, then so many people could get hurt. And I know that the last thing anybody wants is for students to be getting hurt. So these all need to be considered, and that is why me myself as a professional figure skater, I would not go there. And the opportunities I have had here at Bensalem are quite extensive. Last year, in the Bucks County Musical Educators Association Festival, I was ranked #1 soprano in all of Bucks County through our music program. Through PJS, I ranked #1 in the state competition. I got an $8,000 scholarship from the Elberly Science College at Penn State University, a 5-year Perseverance Award, on top of ranking first place in the state's competition. Last year, I also was in the school musical production here. I was Sister Margareta and the understudy of Maria, the lead. On top of that, I take several honors and AP classes. This school has made...
At this point in time, I'm going to direct your attention to the application of the charter school. Board's been very liberal in allowing you to speak for more than 3 minutes, which is our standard time frame. So if you could, please get...
I really appreciate your time. The last thing I would like to close out with is that speaking as a experienced figure skater, I do not think that the figure skating program that would be offered at the charter school would be enough for the charter school to be opened in considering what we have here at Bensalem already. Thank you.
We will have that public comment card of Brittany marked as SD6. Christine Segovich, and I apologize if I mispronounced that.
While we're waiting for the microphone to be fixed, we're going to ask everyone to please keep your comments at 3 minutes. If you're in a group, we ask that you pick one person to be the spokesperson of the group. Thank you.
I'll just raise an objection to impeding someone's First Amendment right to address this board, regardless of their position. Asking a group of people to elect only one representative would be inappropriate.
Objections noted for the record. I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Okay, that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kristen Sigovich, and I speak to you tonight to urge you to not approve the Charter Arts High School application before you. I am a product of Ben Salem Schools. I was a parent of Ben Salem School students, and I teach second grade at Valley Elementary. I see the wonderful things happening at all levels in our schools. Most recently, I sat on the board of the Ben Salem Music Boosters for 3 years, just ended in June, as my son, who just graduated, was a marching band and jazz band member. He was also a media communications student. If you haven't seen our state-of-the-art studio, please stop in for a tour. CJ Mills would be happy to have you. I've seen firsthand how the arts are alive in Ben Salem. Our programs are flourishing. 60 to 70 marching band members over the past 10 years consistently. Marching band placement in 3rd place in A class, 5th place in open class. Jazz bands, superior ratings that we've won twice in 10 years. High sight reading awards 2 different times. Section awards, solo awards. I'm sorry. Yeah. High sight reading award. Multiple times. High sight reading. Sorry. Section awards, solo awards. 20 graduates from band alone are in music-related careers. We here at Ben Salem have hosted the Army Field Band, Jazz Ambassadors. We've commissioned composer Quincy Hillard to produce an original score that we've performed and recorded. We've hosted BCMEA students to perform here at the high school. We've seen award winners from our school at PCMEA. Neil Williamson is part of the jazz band, and Casey McAdams in orchestra. Media students have attended the Greenfield Youth Festival, toured and built relationships with CBS Studios. They host a yearly film fest. The high school offers a plethora of arts classes, symphonic winds, concert band, orchestra, percussion ensemble, piano 1 and 2, AP music theory, 3 choirs, women's choir, freshman choir, concert choir, Feminaeus Vocalis, jazz band, 5 different dance classes stretching from ballet to hip hop, stretch class, theater, acting, drama, literature, creative writing, multiple arts classes. Students even recently built a guitar in STEM class. Built a guitar out of nothing. All classes here at Ben Salem are taught by highly qualified Pennsylvania state certified teachers. I share with my second graders how important it is to get involved in things you're passionate about. They hear my stories about these programs and what will be available to them when they get to high school. How can you vote to take that away from them? How is that fair to the students of Ben Salem? I haven't heard anything presented by TLC that isn't offered here already. We offer all that the Arts Charter will offer, with the exception of figure skating. Should there be a need for a figure skating class or a program of study, I'm confident that the high school teachers and administration will find a way to partner also with a local rink and then be able to offer that to the students. TLC spoke, I have just a bit more, sorry. TLC spoke a bit tonight about what they won't have. They won't have a marching band, et cetera. They're a smaller school. But they will have our money. By approving this charter, you will cause all of these programs to start to be cut. We've seen it before. By approving this charter, you will cause teachers ultimately to lose their jobs. By approving this charter, you will cause class size to increase. These are all the effects of a public school district having to allot funds to a charter within that district. A charter school that's not held to the same rigorous standards as a public school, a charter school not necessarily equipped to handle special ed or gifted students' needs. We simply cannot do this to our students. It isn't fair. It isn't doing what is right and best for our students. Most of all, there is just no need. Thank you for your time and all that you do for the students in Bensalem.
A public comment card of Kristen Sigovich will be marked, and that's Sigovich, will be marked SD7. Joanne Dixie, Dixey, she left. Okay. Amber Octaviano Doug Dixie. Could have printed a little larger.
Hi, I'm Amber Octaviano, and I'm a junior here at BHS. I am highly involved in our music and performing arts program here. I'm in color guard, marching band, choir, concert band, symphonic winds, OTN, and dance. By adding this charter school to our district, you're taking away the funding from our programs. You're supporting another program, which from the sound of it isn't nearly as great as you think it is. By adding this charter school, you're taking away from the educations of the students that are here in BHS and adding it to the very few minimal students that will be attending this said charter school. By doing this, you are taking such wonderful students out of something that they love doing, and we already have such great programs here. We have all of the music, the band, the choir, the visual arts. We have everything here. There's really no need for another school just outside of Bensalem because we already have everything that we could possibly need here. The only difference is the figure skating, and there isn't really much of a difference of having figure skating during school than outside of school. Many kids here at Bensalem have so many opportunities to be involved, and there's so many outside opportunities from starting here in our school. They can do BCMEA counties and go out to big science festivals, and they have all of those opportunities here already. These programs in our school are so meaningful, not just to us, but to everyone. The band alone, which I am mainly a part of, is already a huge family, and you get to know each other so well. And by taking a few students out of that just to go to somewhere else, it's really pointless. All of these examples that you are listing, the examples that you are making of new programs that you are adding at the new charter school is no different from what we already have here. BHS offers so many amazing dance classes, piano classes, music, visual arts. We have music theory. We have everything that you are already offering. There's no difference besides the building that you are in. And why would you want to take away money from our programs just to send minimal kids to another program that has the same exact stuff that we already offer? You put out the name TLC, which stands for Tender Loving Care, but to be honest, in this case, that's not really what I'm seeing. Thank you.
We will mark that card SD8. Leanne Hart.
Hi, my name is Leanne Hart. I started dancing at the age of 3. By the time I was in 2nd grade, I was dancing competitively. All through elementary and middle school, I spent upwards of 8 to 12 hours a week at the dance studio. I participated in chorus from 1st through 12th grade and played an instrument in the band. We did 2 musicals a year in 4th and 5th grade, and in 6th grade, I started participating in our district's summer stock program as well as community theater. High school? In high school, I lived on the stage and in the choir wing. Not only did we do musicals, we also did children's theater, one-acts, and cabaret nights. I was a member of the International Thespian Society and attended the Pennsylvania State Thespian Conference every year in high school. We took workshops, competed for scholarships, and spent 2 full days immersed in theater and performing. By 12th grade, I was enrolled in 2 different choir classes every day. I took speech and debate, creative writing, and photography, and I spent time as an anchor on our morning news show produced and directed by my peers. I took courses in journalism and was the editor of my yearbook senior year, where I became skilled in Photoshop and Adobe PageMaker. Where did I have all of these amazing opportunities? Bensalem Township School District. The opportunities to make the arts part of my everyday class schedule were plentiful, and I took full advantage. I wasn't the best. I only had a lead in the musical my senior year of high school. But the arts should not be limited to those students who are the best and most talented. The arts are for everyone, and every student should have the opportunity to explore them. They should not be reserved for those who make it to an audition or are deemed worthy of the experience. But as much as I loved performing, I was also a gifted student in what lawmakers and test writers consider to be academic subjects. In 1st grade, I was identified as gifted and was lucky to spend 12 whole years in the Bensalem Gifted program. I could speak for hours on what makes the program so special, but that's not why we're here, is it, Mr. Cohen? But the reason it's worth mentioning is because my public school education gave me the opportunity to pursue not only my passions, but to discover other strengths and interests as well. I went on to obtain a degree in economics, but I still continued to perform in college in an a cappella group and on the dance team. That's what all of our public schools do here in Bucks County. They provide students with a first-class education, giving them room to pursue their passions and discover new ones along the way. My daughter's 11, and like me, she's a performer. She sings, dances, acts, and she plays the cello. She also loves to write and make movies starring her friends. And when I think back on my experience in this school district, when I take her to see fellow Bensalem High School alumni writing, directing, and starring on Broadway shows, or when I watch them report live on 6ABC and CNN, when I introduce her to my high school theater friends who are now teachers, lawyers, doctors, and elected officials, I am so proud that she's enrolled in this district. There's no need for an arts charter in Bensalem or any of our neighboring districts. We have a thriving program that, in addition to some extremely impressive alumni, is inclusive of all of our students. And Mr. Lubin, if you really cared about the arts, you would stop pushing these schools that only cater to an exclusive segment of the population and do something instead that increases access to the arts for all students in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Ms. Hart's card will be marked as SD9. C.J. Mills. We will mark C.J. Mills' card as SD10.
Hi, I'm C.J. Mills. I'm a resident of Bensalem. Been here my whole life, and I now teach here. Kids you see on the cameras, they're part of the media communications program, and they're still here working. Real life stuff. They produce films. They do a morning show. They do a community show. They win awards. They're in Hollywood. They're working on sound stages. They're doing big things, and I'm super proud of them. And I looked at what you were proposing, and it was interesting. There was a whole lot of information on the history of media My kids are experiencing media. Our kids are doing this every day. You see them. You see them at every game. You see them at every concert. You see them at every musical. And they truly are getting a true sense of what it is to do this. But I wear a lot of hats. I went to Ben Salem. I was a product of Ben Salem music. I sang in the choir. I played in the orchestra. For the past 25 years, I've been a professional musician. For the past 8 years, I've been a producer, producing shows with over 120 performers, with attendees of over 1,500, all because of Ben Salem music. I'm a Ben Salem fan. I come and see the musicals. I see kids that I've taught, the same ones that Leanne referred to on Broadway, kids that have gone through the program before me, now vice president of Sony Pictures in Hollywood, producing movies. This district is what I bleed. I bleed blue and gray. But tonight, you saw 13 other districts come in here, and you saw what Bucks County has to offer. And I've been to some concerts here that have absolutely put chills up and down my spine. There's not a need for a charter school. We have it here. I'd love to commend you guys. You did a great job talking about how important the arts are, and you are absolutely correct. But the beautiful thing about living in Bucks County, we have it. We have it in our public schools. And I know that because I'm a product of it. I know it because I'm a teacher of it. But most importantly, I have an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old who are in these schools, participating in these arts, getting taught by these teachers. Our choir teacher, I tell her every day I can't wait for my child to study under her, because my kid goes around that house all day long singing. Our kitchen table sounds like a drum set, and I love it. But our choir teacher's no joke. She also is a professional, performing at the Kimmel Center. Our orchestra director, that piece, I don't know if you got to see it, with Edgar Allan Poe, he's sheer genius. And a lot of the works that we do, you'll hear him, he composes them. Guys, we don't need anything else. You have it right here. So, if you're thinking that there might be a need to bring in a small charter school and put it in a bank down the road, there's no need. We're good. I know you'll do the right thing. Thank you.
William Spicia? No, it's William. She left. Kathy McAdams? Public comment card will be marked SD11.
I will make this short. Hi, my name is Kathy McAdams. The music and arts program in our Ben Salem Public Schools is second to none. Each of my 4 daughters have been musically inclined from a very young age. Having them in public school was the best decision for each of them. Their teachers and musicians are musicians and artists who really connect with their students. From elementary school to high school, the opportunities that have been provided to my children are numerous. They have had amazing choices to work under world-class guest conductors, host the Presidential Army Band, have instrument clinics by concert professionals, visit the American Music Theater, perform on the stage at Kimmel, as well as enjoy Philly Orchestra's music on field trips, just to name a few. Each teacher we've encountered over the past 13 years in our public school were true professionals who really cared about their academic and music education. At the high school level, my high school kids spent most of their years with half or 3/4 of their day in music ensemble classes. So that is an option here as well. such as jazz, piano, symphonic winds, drumline, concert band, and orchestra. After being nurtured in many leadership positions, my oldest child found her calling to go into music education. She learned 8 different instruments under the direction of many amazing teachers here. And thanks to her education in this public school system, she's a Dean's List student at her university and president of their symphonic orchestra. My second daughter graduated here last year, having become fluent in 9 different instruments. Like her sister, she qualified for many county and state honors. With the music education received in our public school, she surpassed hundreds of students and received the Pennsylvania All-State Award. They both have made lifelong friends across the entire state. None of this would have been made possible without the teachers and opportunities available here in our public school, and there is certainly no reason to open a charter school in Bensalem when there's so much opportunity right here within these walls, and these wonderful teachers who have helped raise my children into wonderful young adults. I thank them every day. I thank them. And thank you for your time.
Jamie Devery. Mark the card SD 12.
Hi, I'm Jamie Devery, and I think everyone who has already spoken has spoken so eloquently that the only thing that I can add is that you may say that you can offer what we have, but it will never be as good as what we have. So with the teaching staff that we have and the students that we have, and everything that puts our arts program together, there is no charter school that can compete with that ever. So I don't feel, as a parent who moved here to put my kids into this public school district, there's any reason that we need to have a charter school. That's it.
Stacy Champion.
Hopefully, am I okay right where I'm at? Stacy Champion, thank you everybody for listening to me. I personally am not a product of Bensalem High School. My family is. My children are too young and haven't gone to the high school yet. But knowing all of the people that have attended and seeing our wonderful Hall of Fame with our distinguished alumni, we have what the kids need in Bensalem for the arts. We do not need a school that cannot complete an application that has so many lacking items that our financial director has pointed out, our HR director has pointed out, our education people have pointed out, and our special education people have pointed out. The amount of items that I see on there concerns me to the lack of detail that you would provide as an education to these children who may come to your school. I am a concerned citizen with young children, and I, for one, do not want a school in our district that would not provide a whole-rounded education from the arts to the sciences to everything that all these children have said out here that they get in the Bensalem education system. It is more than just figure skating. It is more than just vocals. I have 2 nieces who are highly, highly educated in terms of vocals, and that are fantastic. And they've gotten it from the public education school system and not from the charters. So thank you for your time, and I hope, and I'm sure, that we will make the right decision that we do not need an arts charter because we have it already in the Bensalem High School system. Thank you.
Sonetta McKelvey, Royce McKelvey. Aiden Muna. Public comment card will be marked SD 14.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aiden Manna, and I am a junior here at Ben Salem High School. And just something I would like to point out, many people stated some very, very good points today, but something I would like to point out is that we are all such a close-knit family, and we all care about each other so much. Like, yes, the systems are great, the educations are great, and the programs we have are great, but the best thing is how much Ben Salem students care about what we have, and how much they care about each other, and how far that they're willing to go to show what we have. And that all the schools from across Bucks County could come out here tonight and show that we don't need this charter school, that we are perfectly capable of handling ourselves, and that we have all this skill and all this talent to show. And another thing I wanted to say is also something I noticed in the beginning of your guys' presentation is that you said that art is such a mandatory and beautiful thing, which it is, and it's mandatory to everyone's education. But you can't deny the fact that the approval of this school will only limit the availability of art to the populace of Ben Salem, because if the approval of this school will limit the students here who are willing to stay in the school and who won't want to transfer, and they're not going to want to leave. So creation of the school will only cut the programs and the teachers that we love and the programs that we've grown to love and the programs that have made so many parents come out here tonight to defend them, to say, oh, I know this person and this person and this person who went here and were monumentally affected by that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that we have here. And it's so nice to see that everyone come out to support what we have. And it's no offense and no insult to the charter school. And I think you guys are trying to do a very good thing. I just personally don't think it was meant for Ben Salem. Thank you.
Virginia Cosenza, C-O-S-E-N-Z-A, marked at SD 15. Public comment card.
Hi, my name is Virginia Cosenza, and I'm a resident of Ben Salem. All kids are different. They all have different interests, different hobbies, they play different sports. One thing kids do have in common is that they will thrive in environments they feel most comfortable in. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. My kids love to play music. My oldest plays the guitar, and my youngest plays the drums. They take lessons every Saturday and look forward to it all week. They practice every night. It's their passion. When we first heard that a School for the Arts was to open right here in Ben Salem, we were beyond thrilled. We began to research the school and discovered that TLC Arts had already opened up several schools, and all of them with very impressive results, award-winning schools. My girls are so excited about this school that we have attended every open house, and they have performed at each and every one of them. They are looking forward to being able to spend half their school day in something they love. I know for my children and for kids all over Bucks County who have a passion for their chosen art, attending TLC Bucks Arts High School will be an amazing opportunity that they will not get anywhere else. One period of art will not nurture the talent that these kids have. They need a curriculum that will engage and challenge them every day. By not allowing this charter to be approved, all you will be doing is stifling the creativity and talents of approximately 400 Bucks County students. If the school board truly cares for the education and well-being of all students in their district, there is no other choice but to approve TLC Bucks Arts Charter High School and allow these children to thrive in an environment they are most comfortable in. Thank you for your time.
Susan Brounce. Public comment card will be marked SD 16.
Hello. I had a speech, I ripped it all up, and I decided to keep it short and sweet because we've been here a long time. And I'd just like to say there are great programs in public high schools. I will not deny that. However, for my daughter, who was bullied so bad with no help from our district, we moved her to a private school. Many children get lost, sorry, all these scribbles, in the mass population of a public high school. So that being said, BLC Bucks is not for every child. So please give our children a choice. Thank you.
Nitin Chudasamy?
Good evening, everyone. I live in Bensalem since like 21 years, and my kids are here. As you can see, I'm from India. Not very good background of English, and thanks to Bensalem High School having ESL programs and supporting my kids. I have 3 kids going to Valley Elementary. One of them is in middle school. One of them is present right now up there doing auditions for the cameras and all that. Thanks to Bensalem School District for having all these programs. And I'm so glad like I live in this city of Bensalem, and I'm so proud of the teachers over here, especially ESL teachers. What I remember was Ms. Sobras and Ms. Tavelson, and maybe a few more other teachers who are really good in this district with all these extra programs, helping my kids to grow up. And the kid who is here right now, he was not that great at all, was left behind everywhere, but now he's growing up and he's up there where he is right now. And in future, hoping school district doesn't bring any charter schools in this area, which we don't need them, as other parents said it too. And I don't understand why they waste their time and money and your efforts for having these kind of meetings. And they know the charter schools, we don't want them, so I don't know why they're wasting their time here for. So as a parent, I would not send my kids to charter school ever. So thank you, good night, sir, and have a nice night.
Mr. Chudasamy's card will be marked SD 17. SD 18, Isabel Colaccio, Collacchio. Oh, sorry about that. SD 18.
Hello there. My name is Isabella Colacchio, but everyone calls me Blue. I'm in the Neshaminy School District, and I formerly attended a performing arts high school for 2 years. I'm 16 years old now, and I'm interested in attending TLC Bucks for my senior year. The idea of learning about the arts for half of my school day is super exciting to me, and I'd love to meet like-minded people that are around my age. Music and performing arts have always been a huge part of my life. I used to act and do plays as a child, and I've been writing songs as long as I can remember. I had brain surgery when I was 12, and I had abdominal surgery last June, and performing arts, specifically songwriting and music, have always been there for me and helped me to cope with tough times in my life and life in general. Becoming involved with the arts unlocks a whole new world of people, ideas, and experiences. And that's why I'm interested in attending TLC Bucks. Thank you.
Kara? For the record, I think I spelled it wrong last time. It's Collacchio. There's only one L. And that's SD 19.
Hi, my name is Kara Colacchio. That was my daughter, Isabella, and we live in Langhorne. We're in the Neshaminy School District. I'm kind of under the impression that this school is for all of Bucks County and not just Bensalem. My daughter, you may have gotten the gist of, she's a special needs student. She has a 504. She's also a musician, a singer, and an actor. And she does better in a smaller school. She hasn't been in one of our district schools since first grade. She did private schools. She's done public cyber charter school. She went out of district and did the Arts Academy at Benjamin Rush for 2 years. We paid out of district. It went up this year. It's like $11,000 now, which is a hardship for us with all of her medical problems. I grew up in Queens, New York. I had a choice of high school in any of the 5 boroughs. Pennsylvania already has charter and cyber charter schools. Philadelphia has multiple special admit performing arts schools. Bensalem sounds like a great school. It's a great school district, but there are kids in Bucks County that need this school, and my kid needs this school. And that's why I hope you'll consider approving TLC Bucks. Thank you.
There are no other public comment cards at this time.
Leanne has 2. She's on behalf of the group.
One additional.
Okay. Ms. Hart? SD 20.
Hi. Again, my name is Leanne Hart. I understand that the charter approval requires community support. This proposed charter school does not have community support. How do I know this? I'm standing here as a representative of at last count, which was 730, 1,193 individuals who signed a petition opposing this proposed charter school in Bensalem. Of those signers, 523 of them are residents and taxpayers living in Bensalem Township. A total of 847 live in Bucks County overall. They represent 43 different townships and municipalities in the county. The remaining signers are individuals with ties to our community, graduates, current and former educators, family and friends of Bensalem residents, to name a few. Do you want me to read I can read the petition, is that okay? So our petition says, the Arts Charter is not needed in Bensalem Township or Lower Bucks County. We, the undersigned parents and guardians of students, together with teachers and other community stakeholders of Bucks County school districts, petition the Bensalem School Board directors to reject the application for charter from TLC Arts Schools, LLC, or any other corporation that may apply with the same intent. The aforementioned community members petition the board to reject the above charter application on the following grounds. Public schools in Bensalem and Bucks County already offer the following programs for academic credit: creative writing, journalism, dance, instrumental music, theater, vocal music, and visual and graphic art. The students who have graduated from these programs have gone on to successful careers on Broadway, on international news stations in a top 4 market, as playwrights, as authors, and musicians who have received awards for their outstanding work in their field, including a Pulitzer Prize and a Grammy. They have gone on to successful political careers, professorships, entrepreneurial endeavors, and countless other professions which continue to shape the next generation and positively impact our global community. This short list is not all-encompassing and does not even begin to scratch the surface of the thousands of success stories that have been born out of these programs in our public schools. The majors offered at the proposed charter are duplicative of the well-established programs that have existed for generations and which continually evolve to embrace new technology and trends. Put simply, the charter school is unnecessary. If the proposed charter enrolls 400 students, it would at a minimum drain $6 million from the taxpayers of Bucks County. This number is without any special education costs, which would more than double the cost of any student who attends the school. Charter schools are paid approximately $35,000 per student with special needs, regardless of the actual cost to educate any individual student. Any student who requires special education can get those accommodations at our public schools, as well as the arts programs that they desire. As a charter school, the teaching staff is not held to the same certification standards as our public school teachers. They do not need to be highly qualified or even certified by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When charter school teachers are contracted on a year-to-year basis, those teachers have no job security. As a result, there will always be an air of instability for students, teachers, and parents. Continuity of programming, for example, the language programs you talked about, will depend on whether or not you have teachers that are available to teach at any given year. Like many others, this charter school claims to be nonprofit. However, inadequate oversight and a lax law have allowed some charter school operators to defraud taxpayers. Charter management organizations are permitted to spend unlimited taxpayer dollars on expenses that are unrelated to educating children, including political lobbying, seven-figure CEO salaries, and advertising. Thomas S. Lubin, the man who is leading the charge to open this charter school, appears to have no allegiance to quality education or the arts. Instead, he seems intent on making money on the backs of taxpayers. In 2000, he left his job as executive director for Lehigh Valley Charter High School for the Performing Arts before it even opened, for a more lucrative position with for-profit charter management organization Mosaica Education. Mosaica Education was responsible for opening the first charter school in Bensalem, Mosaica Academy Charter School. In 2001, Mosaica Academy chose to sever ties with Mosaica Education due to poor management, and the school was reopened under its current name, School Lane Charter School. More recently, Mr. Lubin's last 4 petitions to open charter schools were rejected. We don't want to give Mr. Lubin the chance to make his next fortune on the backs of Bucks County residents at the expense of our children in public education schools. I know that a lot of these cannot be considered as reasons for the board to object it, but I feel that they are appropriate for me as a taxpayer to consider not supporting it, and since community support is part of it, I feel as though they're relevant.
Can I get clarity about whether all of that is in the petition?
Yes, and I have 2 copies of it.
But even the personal comment
I can,
at the end? Mr. Prophy, I just want clarity.
the personal comment at the end, which part?
The petition will read for itself. It speaks for itself.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. It was all a personal comment.
The petition Are these 2 copies of the same, excuse me? Yes. Ms. Hart, are these 2 copies of the same petition? Thank you. They will be marked as, it will be marked SD 21. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none. At this point in time, nope. Thank you. Punit Chudasama? S22.
Hello, good evening. My name is Punit Chudasama. I am a 12th grader, senior at Bensalem High School. I just want to start off by saying BHS says something to me. Every time I see this B, gray and blue, I feel welcome. I feel warm. I feel happy. BHS is a school for anyone, and I guarantee you 110%, any student that walks through those doors will feel welcome and will feel appreciated, and they will have a million opportunities to succeed in the future. I myself love sports. I am in the tennis team for the past 3 years, going on to 4th. And I know there's a lot of other students who like to participate in clubs, sports, anything. They're all here in front of your face. You're in the building. It's all right here. Why open a new school when there's already one here? All the activities here at BHS can make you something in the future. They can help you to your career, or even it could even make you something that you never thought of, like a millionaire. Who knows? For example, I'm here for the OTN crew, and we are still filming. The time is 12:10. That's dedication. That shows love. The work and effort, the sweat and tears we put into this school, I don't think we can do it for another school. BHS is a school for everyone, and I guarantee they'll love it. Also, the ESL, English. As you can hear, my English is pretty good. Thankful for all the ESL teachers. Beginning of high school, I was scared to talk to anyone, scared to make friends, scared to get opportunities. And now as a senior in high school, I'm here talking in front of all of you, nervous, but I'm doing it. And I feel comfortable because I know how to speak English, and I feel comfortable. BHS is a school for everyone, and I think y'all should just keep it in mind. Thank you.
It'll be a brief executive session at this point in time.
I missed the announcement.
Going to go to brief executive session, come back, and the board members will have questions.
Next to Susan.
I think it's Thursday.
Sleep with their computers on. Give it up. I was one. Doyle's not up. I texted her. You still awake? I'm here. I'm here. There's HR.
Hey, the good news, Felicity has passed her 24-hour
We're all going to get it.
Oh, no, we're not coming. I'm coming all wrinkled and disheveled. Thanks. He's probably staying as long as
We're sitting here talking, he didn't know.
How about when we said, well, we should be sitting in the second row?
My universe is a great. Yeah.
Field, I want you to look over here. Okay? If I turn these folks around in the back of their flag, these folks stay facing the front. Your eyes are naturally going to be drawn to that. You are true.
Yeah, I was telling my husband, your husband. We can just all move in together, we'd be good. Think of all the money we'd save. Well, that's probably true. Tell people when they come back, like $200, that's admission. With the zoo. He found it in the trash.
That's what's left.
Those caramels were 7 points. That wasn't worth it. I'm going to the bathroom. They were not worth 7 points, not at all.
Did the points double when you need it at 12:30 at night?
Not according to, internet time.
I like 10. Back out and keep track of points. Yeah.
There's so many things you can keep track of in the day.
It's officially a college dorm atmosphere.
Not really. Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Very grateful.
Where did you get the pizza? Where was it from? Oh, that was from the kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
You want to have a piece?
I haven't seen him in.
It's crazy too. It's literally just closed a minute ago. He's actually big. Oh, yeah. I told him I was going to stop him. I'm not going anywhere else, Brian. I'm going home. That's exactly this is. I don't care. I'll eat it more. That's the worst punishment ever. I'll go. Well, they did the whole furniture. Yeah, that's the I don't blame you. None of us should.
Just Just asking questions. That's my job. It's my job to ask questions.
I do mystery shopping.
Do you?
I did one.
Like I said, I don't think we.
What did you do?
I was there for like 2 hours. I did try to do one of table games.
Really? Doug's a hustler.
You will. I hope.
Retired in like 5 years.
Earlier today, I called Best Buy electronic store in my something. It takes like 2 seconds to get the job. I get free dinners all the time, like Maggiano's, one of our clients. So I have to go to Maggiano's and pretend it's my birthday. I'm doing it. The more I'm doing it. Really? I'm married to a lawyer. Why? I mean, you know why I drive a Chevy? So the Chevrolet's one of our clients. So anytime I need a service done, I just go ahead and do a review as a mystery shopper.
Lawyer.
Just apply for the job. She's a good one to be stuck with. She's awful. And it's kind of like a triangle. So friends of mine get hired too and use me as a reference. Anytime they get paid, I get paid. Bestmark.com. Bestmark. Yeah, I'm doing my report from last night.
Oh, man. You're on the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, I work for a judging company, so we're paid as professional opinion leaders.
I'll get him to come back.
I didn't see him. I was in grad school. I was in my doctorate. I literally wasn't. I wasn't.
Especially because I have a deposition tomorrow morning.
Or the carrier out. Helicopter. We've been asking for these things for months. I offered that we should relocate to the helipad earlier today, so we opened up the office. We have lots of time on our hands. We've been sitting here for like 7 hours.
You want more shrimp? No, I'm good. Good now.
John, aren't you on the Biggest Loser?
I am, but I'm hungry.
He'll just
Kathy, he can eat as much as he wants. He's in competition with me.
he'll go home and take
Yeah,
something.
We'll go to the gym. Table we call it the helipad. She took the picture of it with the tortilla and the people's on the hill. It's on the, and she's like, I took this off this thing with the umbrella, and no one's ever used it. So we said the only reason you should use that is if you have a helipad logo on the face. We can pop the curriculum copter, we can park it there.
How else are we gonna recognize you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
30 seconds.
Yeah, well, you gotta get up here.
We can try their best.
The thought that.
They gotta get clear.
Yeah. Signal the clock tower.
Tower,
Yeah. Be like in that movie Top Gun, Mission Impossible Tower.
Calling Sean Marker.
Negative, Ghost Rider. Pattern is full. Waiting for us to call it.
Could I be that? I'm actually.
favorite movies. That was great. I don't know if I'm into the sequel.
Yeah, you see Val Kilmer and Kelly McGillis, you see her?
Oh, yes. It's I mean, it's a movie. It was made in the early 80s.
What happened to people in Hot Dogs?
Oh, she's
Val Kilmer?
Tom Cruise still looks all right. Well, you guys are going to
Good? Five slices.
Doesn't look like it, right?
Oh, no. Just realized I got a hole in my boot. Your boot? Yeah, that's my toe. That means I gotta go looking for new shoes. I hate shoe shopping.
I'm not buying
You mean later today?
Yeah, today.
Yeah, I think my kids are like, just, I hope for their sake that they're cooperative tomorrow.
Cold?
Thinking about how comfortable it was myself. I kid you not. I don't get to let the temperature get this low in my house.
Remember, ask questions slow.
Definitely
Yep. Thank you.
For the record, is that why
Back on the record. Certain board members have certain questions of the applicant, so at this point in time, turn it over to the board.
Give me just a second. Oh, wait, I have to push, right? Option to leave it on. Okay, can everyone hear me? Am I good?
No, they cannot hear you.
Now?
Yes.
All right, I do have to push, okay. Okay, Dr. Lubin, the first questions are related to our concerns regarding academics. You mentioned in your application that AP courses would be offered. Could you tell specifically what courses will be offered?
Well, you can, excuse me, you can't offer any longer a AP course in the first year of the program. because the teachers on staff must be a part of the writing of the AP curriculum. So we would begin to implement a variety of AP courses. If you go to the website of Charter Arts in Bethlehem, you'll see that they have the full range of AP courses in place now. But we wouldn't make that determination, actually the staff would, during the middle of the first year.
I'm sorry, could you answer the question directly then for the second year? How many, I'm sorry, I haven't, it's not part of the record for me to look at.
That's fine.
The other, so could you tell us what other AP courses are offered then at your other school?
Honestly, the whole realm is currently offered right now. Probably in the first or second year, it would have been AP History, AP English. Eventually, we got into some of the AP Art and Music classes as well, AP Spanish. That's the ones that I know while I was running the school for the first 7 years, we were able to implement those programs.
Okay, so there are 21 AP courses, I believe, so you're offering 5 or 6?
Probably, right.
Okay. And then regarding your schedule, you provided a sample schedule in your application. Do we understand correctly there will only be 4 periods of academics per day?
That's correct.
Okay. So if,
However, it's a modified block schedule.
meaning?
Meaning, I don't know to what extent you use block scheduling at the high school here. Modified block means, for instance, on Monday, a student would have math, social studies, science. On Tuesday, they would have foreign language, what have I forgotten, English, and study hall or another elective. And they would alternate, and the classes would be longer, roughly an hour in length.
You're suggesting something like college coursework?
No, it's a block schedule format that's utilized in a lot of schools. I don't know if you use a block schedule in Bensalem.
Somewhat.
Right.
But my question, which I hadn't finished, was how would you accommodate a student who was taking a core math, science, social studies, and language classes, as well as a foreign language, plus the half day of whatever their art or performing art might be?
Well, there again, a student would get 6 classes. It's a 6-day schedule, so they would get 6 classes in the first 2 days, up to 6.
Okay, and the last part of that is, how many of your students move on to post-secondary education as opposed to other options? And specifically, how many of your graduates have gone on to be professional performers, artists, et cetera?
Okay, the current rate, and even when I left, the rate of kids going on to college was about 92% to a 4-year school. As I pointed out, I think earlier, about 50% of those kids go into arts programs, majoring in music or dance. The other 50% go into other areas of interest, engineering, I think I mentioned nursing. So our goal is to prepare kids to make a choice, not, by the way, to make kids actors or dancers professionally.
And can you just say, you've said a couple of times when you last were there, how long ago did you leave?
I opened this, well, let me give you the full.
The year would be fine. What year did you leave?
Well, I can't.
Ask the allowed to answer the question appropriately.
It took from 1997 to 2003 to get the school open, mainly to find a building. I ran the school from 2003 to 2010.
So the answer is 2010?
Yes.
So you've not been involved with the school in 8 years, is that correct?
Not formally or directly involved, that's correct.
Thank you.
This is a general question in regards to safety. With many of the tragedies that have occurred nationwide within the school system, what safety measures in regards to both physical and mental health does TLC plan to have in place? And also, what is the budgeted amount allocated for safety in your application?
I think the only safety that you can see budgeted for directly would be the security officer or officers that we would have on the process. We would certainly be using or following all the local code, and that code, by the way, changes rapidly. So the introduction of suicide training is only, I think, 2 years, 2 or 3 years old, that's in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a request for the attorneys present. The board is formally requesting a written brief on the following legal issue. We have heard public comment from at least one person who does not reside in Bensalem School District. What, if any, consideration does this board have to afford non-Bensalem School District residents support as it pertains to this charter application? So to put it simply, we want to know if, say, the woman from Neshaminy, she said she was from Neshaminy School District, she came up and she came up to support the charter application. Do we as a board, do we as the Bensalem Township School District School Board have any legal obligation to consider her opinion, position, or request?
Are you asking for a response now?
We would like to see a brief.
No, they're asking
I would
for...
like to put on the record, and I'll brief the issue for you, but if I might ask a follow-up to make my understanding better. The Neshaminy School District, the Bensalem Township School District does participate in federal-funded Title I, Title II programs. Is that correct?
No, I'm not actually here to answer your question, sir. I'm here to ask you to please provide a written brief to us on the very straightforward legal topic of whether or not we have to consider testimony or any kind of public comment from those people who do not reside in Bensalem School District.
And part of the analysis of that question relies on whether or not the district receives federal dollars. Because if somebody pays federal taxes, those federal taxes come to this district, then they are a taxpayer supporting the district.
You can argue this in your brief. That was what the request was made.
What I want to know is the answer to my question. Do you receive federal dollars or not?
It's you
That's not
at this point in time, sir, you are not asking the questions. You are answering the questions.
All that's available on our website if you investigate what's going on in this district. For the public, though, I see some confused faces. The reason behind that question is because this is made as a Bensalem application. This is not being made as a regional application, and that's the reason the board is asking for this.
And the board, I assume, then will also give or discard, if they choose to discard, the Neshaminy School District resident, all of the petition holders who do not reside in your district as well. My understanding is a number of people in a petition I have never seen, nor been provided a copy of, signed it, but I don't know where any of those people reside either.
Well, then we'll wait for legal briefs to make that decision. But if the answer is that we are not to consider in a township-specific application outside support, then yes, in that petition, we would only consider the 500 or so signatures of people who actually reside within the Bensalem Township School District boundaries.
And the, 13 applications or intent to enroll from Bensalem? I'm sorry. So, as Mrs. Ferranda said, if we were only to consider Bensalem, we would consider the 500 some signatures on the petition from Bensalem residents versus the, I forget the exact number, but I think it was 12 or 26 letters of intent to attend the charter school from Bensalem. So we can make that determination once we get the brief.
The school district would be happy to submit a brief to the board on that precise issue.
I do have more questions, but I want to circle back, Dr. Lubin, to the discussion around the core courses for curriculum.
Yes.
You said on a 6-day schedule, or they have 6 classes, say science, math, and ELA would be A day, and then B day they would have history, a language, and something else, because there's 6 classes.
Or study hall if they were only taking 5 subjects.
So they have those classes for an hour.
Roughly,
correct?
yes.
Okay, our class periods run about 45 minutes, I think, at the high school. So that would be about an hour and a half every 2 days. 48 minutes, okay. Get that extra 3 minutes out of them. According to your application, we only have that 14 Ben Salem students were pre-enrolled. So I know my colleagues alluded to the question, but I was wondering, why did you choose Ben Salem? Because a lot of the people that are supporting, in fact, the majority of them are from outside of Ben Salem. You even mentioned it was 20-plus different towns in your presentation.
That's
So
correct.
Why here?
Excuse me. We had to find a building first. In Pennsylvania law, you have to have at least a letter of intent for a building before you can submit a charter. We had been, as was previously mentioned, had been searching for a location in Bucks County for several years in various parts of the county. And we finally found one that A, was affordable for our developer and met the needs, the very special needs that our school would have.
And am I correct, because it's been a long night, you found...
For all of us.
Yeah, you found the location that would meet the needs, but you're not sure of what the zoning is? You never bothered to check it?
No, we're in the process of checking it, but that should not be a consideration.
I'm
at
just
this
trying
point.
to clarify stuff that was mentioned earlier.
Okay.
This question is for Ben Salem School District. Earlier in the evening, we heard a presentation from the applicant that described their musical ensembles, or the ensembles that they will have. They will be small. Do we have small ensembles here in Ben Salem School District?
We do.
We do, so we do have small ensembles here?
Correct.
Can you name a couple of them, just for the record?
Or one of the cabinet members.
Individual answering the question is going to have to identify themselves for the record so that the court stenographer can take down their name.
Hi, my name is Doug Ferraro. I'm the K-12 math supervisor, but I also have oversight of the music department from a curriculum standpoint. The music department here does offer jazz band, color guard, indoor percussion ensemble, several different concert choirs, and on occasion, students have been participating in district bands, county band ensembles, and various small ensembles as well.
Do we also happen to have larger ensembles?
Yes, in addition to traditional groups like the marching band, the high school also offers a concert band, also an orchestra, and a couple of large choir ensembles as well.
This next question sort of is a follow-up, and to be clear, again, we're directing this question towards the school district. Are there any programs that the applicant has proposed to offer that are not already available here in Ben Salem School District?
Just the figure skating program.
Okay, and it was mentioned when they talked about figure skating that that's a combination of dance and acting and musicality in general. Am I understanding correctly that all of these things that were mentioned in terms of what figure skating can bring to an experience is actually something that's provided and combined in the annual Ben Salem High School Musical?
Yes, and also in dance classes.
Are these types of programs offered on any level? And I know we're only considering high school here, but are they also offered on the lower levels of education here?
Yes, through Drama Club.
Okay, and then thank you. To switch gears, back to the topic of buses. Mr. Lubin, you were asked if a formal study was performed by you to ensure that there is room for the buses to safely travel through the parking lot of the proposed location. You answered no, but you explained that you came to that conclusion based on your own observation. Are you specifically credentialed in making safety determinations for transportation such as school buses? And if so, can you please explain your credentialing?
Quite obviously, I am not fully credentialed. I've been around schools for a long time. I've watched the traffic patterns. It's very clear that there is more than adequate parking and traffic patterns available there.
Give us 1 moment.
The Charter Management Organization, you had mentioned that the list of services was fairly extensive. Would we please be able to get a kind of a document of some sort that would list what those services are, since I believe it was mentioned 266,000 in year one, and then it goes up to roughly 371,000, if I'm looking at the right thing on here. So this way we can get a better idea of what this money would be going towards. We don't need you to list them all tonight, but just a document with that information would be
We'll send
appreciated.
you a copy of the contract, which identifies what's provided.
And can I just have a point of clarification that that was not provided in the application currently?
Was that provided with the application?
I don't believe it was required to be a part of the application.
I just want to note for the record that the letter that the applicant had been sent that has been marked, I believe, as School District 2, had provided a deadline for supplementation of the record. That has already passed. I just want to note that for the board's edification.
Well, if the deadline is passed, then
Well, I'll note that we're happy to comply with the board's request and provide the document that has been asked for.
no, that's okay. Thank you
Hold
very
on.
much. We'll consider
No.
what you have of the record.
We're going to have to slow down. It's late.
My apologies.
Right. Okay.
My apologies. The board is asking for something for which the deadline has already passed. We'll withdraw that request. Thank you.
Question, another one that I had, when you budgeted, you did an average for tuition rates. Can you please clarify again why you did not budget using the tuition rates for us, for Ben Salem, since you are applying for the charter in Ben Salem?
Because I knew from experience in all 4 of the schools that I've opened already that we get students from a variety of districts. And if anything, I tried to make the projections on the lower side so that we would not be faced with a negative situation budget-wise.
I'd like to go back to something earlier in your PowerPoint, or early in your presentation, excuse me. We'd like to know, what relationship does TLC have with ALT Realty? Is there any type of relationship between any TLC member or proposed board member and ALT, whether it's a personal or financial, anything other than an at-arm's length business relationship?
No,
And what about with Ashley?
same, no.
And you've explored that with all of your proposed founding board members?
Yeah, the founding board members have nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Okay, and each member, since TLC is proposed to be the manager, none of the employees or owners of TLC either?
Correct.
Have you worked with ALT in other projects?
Yes, I have.
How many?
Just one other, the Easton School, which opened in 2017.
Thank you.
Just want to ask something. Is there any family members have any ownerships in any of these entities? Any of these entities, like the developer and such?
In any of which entities, I guess?
The developer?
No.
You know, because the developer's going to, you know, lease the building back. It's no.
No. No board members have any relations to any employees.
No family members?
No
either?
family members, no board members. It's an independent developer.
I have another question. I actually, as many people here probably know, I have an 8th grader in the district who is looking at high school. She's a dancer, and she dances competitively, and she plays the piano. So as a parent considering this, one of the questions I have, let's take the Rush Performing Arts Magnet School, which is very close to us here in Philly, and I know someone in support of the application said her daughter had attended that. I've looked at it myself. They do have an audition component. They're not a charter school. How will TLC propose to be a premier performing arts school? And if in fact there is no audition component, wouldn't the children, let's say if you take an accomplished child who's already been dancing longer than I want to think about, find appropriate dance education and leveling, for example, let's use a dance as an example, when your selection process is purely lottery?
The selection process is not purely lottery.
Okay, then what is
The
it?
basis of the audition is more for placement than anything else. It's to help to determine the level that a student is coming in. The expectation is that we would only use the audition criteria in the event that a certain discipline at a certain age was larger than our facility rooms could hold. For instance, if we have 3 dance studios, that would cap the number of dancers we could have in the freshman year, sophomore, junior, senior year.
I think that, I understand that, thank you. I think my question is more towards, but your acceptance, you said, is not based on the audition at all. It's completely random, is that correct?
It's in accordance with the policy, but the audition piece does not dictate who is or is not admitted to the school.
Okay, thank you, that was my understanding. So in light of that, you could randomly have, I don't know, all of your dancers could be beginners except for 10, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. How does your model guarantee a premier, let's say, dance education or music education if, in fact, all your applicants, or the majority of your applicants could be beginners?
It's kind of interesting when you use the word premier dance program. We want to have an outstanding school program. That's what we've accomplished in Bethlehem. The premier dance component may not generate itself for a number of years into the program's existence. The other thing is, if you looked at our rubric, a piece of that rubric which is very important is interest and enthusiasm. And somebody talked about equity before. That's one of the reasons that we've introduced that and make that a major part of the audition process. Because we don't just want a kid who's been doing ballet, or better yet, had singing lessons for 9 years, and has had all kinds of training, and another kid comes along who, quite honestly, sings in the shower, but loves it. So again, the piece that makes us different is the youngster that's coming to this school that wants to spend a half a day in their art form. And that's a major, major factor in our success.
Okay, so then if I just want to make sure I understand you. So enthusiasm and interest, is that how you put it?
Yep.
That's a subjective criteria, which is a part of the selection process. So, for example, it's not pure lottery like our School Lane charter school that we have. There's an additional component, is that correct?
No.
Then how does that, I'm sorry, then I know it's late, how does the enthusiasm come into it? Because there are many people who will apply to a charter school simply because it is a charter school. I've seen.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
That's true.
So is enthusiasm and interest a component, or is it completely lottery?
It's a component of our ability to place the students that enroll in the school in an appropriate environment to help them develop their skills in the arts. It's part of our evaluation process, not to decide who gets in or who doesn't, but to make sure that we're pairing students and putting students in a classroom environment that will allow them the best opportunity to improve in our program. You know, pairing the student, as Dr. Lubin was trying to say, pairing the student who's had years of experience with a kid who's got a lot of enthusiasm but only sings in the shower, produces experiences and results and benefits to these students that can't be found in a school that picks which students get to come in.
Okay, so to answer my question directly, please, and I'll use your example, you may have 50 students who sing in the shower and only 10 with vocal lessons. That could be the class, and then you would then place them by audition, is that correct?
Exactly. We have no idea what the makeup will be until they're enrolled.
So that'd be frustrating for my daughter, for example, if she happened to be picked. And so then it's correct that of your supporters, like the daughter, the young lady, and her mother who both spoke, they in fact may not be selected.
Well, we don't select. We go through the enrollment process and we enroll the students in accordance with the program we have. We don't pick who's in or who's out. You're right.
Thank you.
I had a question. All of your teachers, at least I noticed for the core teachers, they're budgeted for $40,000 a year. But on page 62 of your application, they are expected to, quote, spend several weeks each summer to develop curriculum, collect materials, work together to plan and coordinate thematic curriculum within and across grade levels. Is this part of their $40,000 a year salary, or is this wage on top of that?
The answer is yes, which means it's very flexible and it's very fluid. You have to understand that, for instance, in the first year of the school, we would be expecting everybody to be on board most of July and August to get ready for that school, whether they're making $40,000 a year or not. So in future years, that would depend on the money we would have in the budget, and then we would probably set aside funds to pay for people to work during the summer.
So for the $40,000 a year, the odds are you will have newer educators, and you're going to have them writing a curriculum and gathering resources.
No.
Okay, then.
Let me explain that. Charter schools operate on less per capita spending than public schools. Therefore, particularly a brand new charter school cannot afford to hire people at $60,000, $70,000 and $80,000. So we have to go in at a very low salary. We recognize clearly that it's not salaries commensurate with this area. The same way a $32,000 salary in the Lehigh Valley would not be commensurate. Nevertheless, we're finding a very interesting mix of people. In fact, there was a study in a local newspaper not too long ago about young people coming out of college and gravitating to charter schools as opposed to public schools because there was a lot of riffing going on in the public schools. So you'd get a job in a public school and a year later you'd lose your job because of seniority. So as a result, we find we get a good percentage of new people. But more important than that, we get people that come over from New Jersey and pension out and are very happy to work for $40,000. We get people who have sometimes 10 and 12 years experience in private and parochial education who come in. We get people that want to take that salary because of the philosophy that's present in working in the art school. I can tell you that in the 7 years that I ran the high school in Bethlehem, I think we lost 2 teachers who left us for more money to go to a different school. There's something about the passion that exists in this school that is very hard to define or explain to anyone. And by the way, the only way to see it, and I would suggest if the board would want to do it, some board members should make a call to the school in Bethlehem and go up and visit for a day. And you'll see what I'm talking about. You feel it in the school. It's different.
I do want to say I am an educator. I have spent time working in a charter school. So I do understand how that works and how it can be different. But my concern is, just as you said, you have a lot of people who are coming out of college and eager to work. Those that are new educators do not have a firm understanding of the difference between following a book as a resource and actually writing a scope and sequence and a curriculum. I also served as department chair at a former school. So that is why I have a concern with that and that being your budget.
We don't expect the brand new teacher to just go out and write curriculum. The other piece, it's getting late for me now, so I apologize. I suspect I'm the oldest person in the room here, way past my bedtime. But where was I? We will have enough people on staff with experience to be able to manage the curriculum development that's necessary in the first couple of years. The other point is, I mean it really truly. I served for a year as president of the New Jersey Association for Curriculum and Supervision Curriculum Development, ASCD. And curriculum is more than that book that sits on the shelf. Curriculum comes to life in the hands of a teacher. Yes, they have to follow it, but it's that teacher that makes the curriculum come to life.
Thank you. We have another question regarding public support. This is also in part to make a notation for the record. In terms of the audience present tonight, I don't believe there was more than 100 people here at any point. Do you know how many supporters you had in the audience? I counted approximately 15, because much of the audience were staff and known parents. But do you know how many supporters you had in the audience tonight to go towards public support for your application?
I wasn't counting, to be honest. My associate says about 25.
Thank you.
I do want to, with the discussion around the number of special education students and the budget, I just want to make a clarification prior to the borderline argument that it was said that you couldn't determine the number of special education students ahead of time, but yet your revenues on page 338 of the scan document, which may be a little different than the actual application, you had an estimation of 19% special education, and that's where you based part of your revenues from. So my question is, for the district, is that where your projected numbers of 19% of the 400, I think it was, for the first year?
No, my number was 15%, I believe, and it was from within the application, not the spreadsheet. I think
I
it's...
can actually speak to that. On page 21, which is Bate stamp page 21, the application states that they anticipate a 15% special education population. The budget, however, as you just noted, reflects a 19% estimate, which is inconsistent with the narrative, and that 19% is noted on page 338, which I think you were correct in making that observation.
I think the basic fact is, and we've said it several times, we don't know what our special ed population is going to be until we begin to enroll those kids. And we are firmly committed to meeting all the services they need at whatever appropriate costs it take, including the extraordinary cases that do come up and that the state does reimburse for. So it's our commitment to meet the needs of those kids. What we're not going to do, and I'll be honest with you, there are schools that do it, we're not just going to classify every kid that walks in the door to raise up the revenues.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there was a clarification, because there were a few discrepancies from one section to another, and I know it's very difficult to determine some of this stuff, but as you know, without a proper plan, it's going to be difficult to open and be financially viable. So I just wanted to make sure I understood where the numbers were coming from.
Okay, and respectfully, it's called a budget. And you
We know all about budgets when we're ready to move on to
Exactly.
the next question. I'm very concerned, this was raised by the cabinet, but I'm very concerned about how you are reaching out to language minorities. Bensalem is a very diverse community. There are a number of language minority individuals here in our community. Your application, at least what we saw in the presentation, is entirely in English. There's no indication in your application of what publicity or solicitation of interest you undertook with regard to language minority communities. What efforts did you put forth?
You're right to say that we didn't put the application in different languages. We probably could have done a better job with that. The fact of the matter is we've used signs, website, Facebook. We are drawing people to the open houses that are non-English speaking.
Has anyone who's pre-enrolled from Bensalem been a non-English speaking individual?
I couldn't tell you right now. I'd have to look over the...
I mean, obviously, driving around here in Bensalem, we have, you can't miss your signs and whatnot, and I've not noted anything in a language other than English. And that goes back to the equity issue. Sometimes people who are not language minorities don't have the money to already be enrolled in dance or figure skating and whatnot. So that is an indirect method of selecting your potential pool of children who would attend. Is that not correct?
That's correct, but the entry...
Thank you.
That is not correct.
Now I heard the answer. Thank you.
No question pending. Any board members
I'm going to
have
complete my response to the board member's question.
the question?
The presumption is that
I was asking Dr. Lubin, counsel, thank you.
I believe that
He
the
answered my
applicant,
question.
I believe that the applicant is permitted to respond to the question. I
And he
represent
did.
the applicant,
Thank you.
and I will complete my response
Counsel,
for
you're
the
trying to
record.
cover for what your applicant just answered. I'm a lawyer, I understand what you're doing, but thank you, it's been answered by the applicant.
Are there any further questions of any witnesses?
The only point is I didn't finish what I was trying to say.
Thank you, the applicant answered. I don't believe the board has any further questions.
Any further questions? Okay. I declare this hearing
Oh,
closed.
Mr. Brophy?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think there's one housekeeping item. You had talked about the submission of proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law. Have we
Right.
established a deadline for that?
Well, I'm going to give the court reporter significant time to prepare the transcript. You obviously want that before you prepare your findings and conclusions.
Absolutely.
We're coming up on the holiday season, so 30 days after receipt of the transcript, I will expect the findings of facts and conclusions of law. I think that's reasonable under the circumstances. If you need additional time because of the way the holidays fall, please let me know. For example, if we get the transcript in 2 weeks, then we're pushed into Christmas and the New Year, and I know 3 weeks. Did I say 2? I didn't. I won't. I won't. But the further out we go, we're into the Christmas season, so I don't expect it being required until mid to late January at the absolute earliest.
With the...
We have 75 days.
I didn't mean to talk over you. The only thing that I have not done is calculate out the deadline under the charter school law by which the board must vote, because the board must vote at some point in time between 45 and 75 days from the date of tonight's hearing under the charter school law. So that, as long as it's, the requirement is submission within that time frame, and then the board has sufficient time to schedule a meeting to vote, that is certainly not a problem for me.
I believe it's quite doable under the timeline set forth in the charter school law.
Could I have a point of order, please?
That's usually requested by counsel, so why don't you confer with counsel and then ask that question?
My client just wanted to make a couple of closing comments for the board before we depart.
You can make the closing comments in the concluding report. It's quite late. We did meet, we continued to meet. It's now 1:30, so raise those comments and conclusions in your brief. So
They're saying no.
the hearing's adjourned.
We're saying